Hi, I'm Joe Campanelli. You're watching eHow.com. Today we're going to talk about reading wine labels. You know, it can be very confusing if you pick up a bottle of wine trying to figure out what exactly is inside the bottle. So there are three general types of wine labels, and if you understand the three different types, it'll take you a long way to guessing what's inside the bottle. The first I'd call a New World wine label. New World meaning anything that's in North America, South America, really anything that's not in Europe. Although this is a wine made from Europe, it's really made in a style that's meant to accommodate and relate to the American market. The big thing to note here is that the name of the grape will be prominent on the label. Here it says Pinot Noir. The producer is Stadelmann, and here there's a vintage 2008. So all vintage means is the year in which the grapes were harvested. And this word classic, it really doesn't mean anything at all. It's sort of a fantasy term that they've created to help sell the wine. On every bottle, they have to note the country of origin. In this case, it says product of Austria. The size of the bottle, here it's 750 milliliters. The alcohol content, when it's imported from Europe, it has to be rounded to the 0.5. And for dry red wines like this one, you usually see anywhere between 12% and 15%. In this case, it's 12.5% alcohol, so a lower alcohol wine. And then there's a government warning, which is regulated on all wines imported and distributed to the United States. The final thing you'll note is that it says contains sulfites. All wines have this label on them that says contain sulfites, as sulfites are a natural byproduct of the fermentation process. Some people think that red wines have more sulfites than white, but this isn't correct at all. Red wines are actually a lot more stable, and since sulfites are an antioxidant, they don't add as many sulfites to red wines. So this type of label I'd call an old world style label. In an old world style label, the appellation is prominent. And in an appellation, a consortium of producers regulates the grapes that are grown, the area that they can be grown in, and how the wine is created and aged. In this case, the appellation is called Brunello di Montalcino. Again, we have the vintage 2005 and the producer. One other thing to note for imported wines is that all imported wines will say the name of the importer on the back of the label. Getting to know a few of your favorite importers is a really great tool to understanding what the wine is going to be like. Generally, importers tend to have their own specific palate and import wines that taste more or less in the same style. Here it says imported by Castle Brands. Also, you'll note that this has an alcohol content of 13.5, which is a little bit higher than the wine we had before, so it's just a little bit stronger. Now, the final style for a label of wine gives you very little information at all. Here we can see all it says is a big fantasy name, Oshar, and then it says the producer that it's produced by, the vintage, and that it's a product of Lebanon. But it's not going to tell you anything about where it's grown or what the grapes are. In this case, you really have to ask your store clerk or your sommelier and do some research on your own. So these are three typical examples of wine bottle labels. But remember, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Joe Campanelli. Catch me again on eHow.com.